So I woke up with that, and then I woke up with a photo on my camera. I had a camera or a cell phone that you could take photos with. I don't remember which. And I looked at my camera, or my cell phone. And right there on it was a photo of me sleeping. Somebody had taken a photo of me while I was asleep in that bed in Michael Holt's house. I'm kind of thinking, because I don't think that happened, I don't think he was with me overnight, maybe that night, or maybe he was. I'm trying to remember how that happened because I have to look it up again. But I think that maybe he hadn't stayed the night that night, that he was already gone, but then the very next morning I woke up like that. No, he was there, because I remember I couldn't tell. I was trying to figure out if Michael Holt did that, or could have done that, or was capable of that, or if Alvaro did that. And I don't think Michael Holt would be sticking her hand down my pants to put something, on me that would create some kind of a blister. And I believe it was Alvaro. But I thought that was very strange. So he clearly thought that was the last time he was going to be with me, and he did the same thing that Chris Dabney did to me. And then I was at the library. I remember that there's a librarian there by the name of Courtney. She was there at that time when Alvaro came by, and she was very hostile to me, and I remember Alvaro said he needed his phone, and we were sharing that phone. By the time I had one of my own, but then I was also using that one because there was call unlimited. So I have my own cell phone, but I used his most of the time. And then he said he needed I think it was his cell phone, or I want to say earplugs, like headphone earplugs, something like that. I believe it was cell phone. And so then I gave it to him, or maybe it was just earphones. It was something very small. And then he was leaving, and prior to my even telling him that he had to go, after he had been there 1 week, I saw on his cell phone that he was getting all these text messages from this woman who was sending all this stuff about Mother Mary and flirting with him. And then he was also sending a text himself to somebody saying passports and, or not passports, tickets, plane tickets. And I thought, basically it looked like he was arranging for tickets to leave. Like that he was asking somebody else to schedule tickets for himself to leave. But then, when I think about it, possibly he was scheduling tickets for somebody else to arrive, to be in the town close to him. And so there are a couple of things like that on his cell phone. And I looked at his cell phone right in front of him. I wanted to see, and then he looked. It was the only time that I ever asked him if I could do that. Then after that, he basically, I think, he went from there after trimming up. He went to Seattle and walked right into FBI offices. And I believe that he pretty much hooked up with somebody in Seattle, which is really nice. It was really unbelievable what my son and I suffered and have suffered, and what kinds of things were being done to us, and how I was being blamed and punished for not supposedly doing something for him. Like getting married to him, I guess, right away. And it wasn't that I had thrown that idea out, And I explained to him, and I did tell him once he was in Wenatchee. When he was in Wenatchee, I said, I want you to know that I voided that marriage license. However, he already knew. I told him, just for the preliminary part of, getting it out into the open. But I knew that he knew the first day that it happened. He had people watching me. And he was part of the government, and the government was there working and didn't want to have it voided. And I know that he knew by the way that he looked at me, and by the nature of our intimacy that night. I knew because of the way he looked at me. He had never looked at me that way before, the entire time we were together. And as soon as I saw his eyes, I knew, I was able to say in my own mind, he knows. He absolutely, definitely, 100% knew the same day. So even though he knew, he went through the motions of getting the engagement and everything else set up the entire time, knowing that I canceled the marriage license. But I'm sure that he probably thought that I might, I could sign a certificate again, or that I needed more time. I'm sure he knew that that was a possibility. That's something I might do. But basically, when he had me go to Wenatchee, first I was there on my own, actually. And I was there for a week and not treated well, and then I called him, and then when I was having problems, then he decided to show up. But then it was kind of like he was just trying to find a way to make it look like I was breaking up with him and had done him wrong in some way, while he was arranging to just leave. Because he gave me a WorkSource phone number. He wanted me to go to WorkSource, which is where this one guy, Lee, who was an Italian American, was really horrible to me and banned me from that place. He wanted me to go there. He was trying to set me up to be a poker person. That was how they got me out of the house, so that the two of them could be alone. Alvaro wasn't looking for work there at all. But I was learning how to play quote-unquote poker at Michael Holt's brother's business. I mean, so she knew where I was when I was there and when I was going to be coming back. And I did try to learn some cards, because I was told that I could get a job dealing cards there, and it would pay really well. It'd be like waitressing at a bar, but pay even a little bit better. You could make some pretty good money. But then I just had this feeling that there was like an eventual idea of like what, Alvaro was going to ditch me and I was going to get set up to work in LA, or in Las Vegas, and like deal cards in Las Vegas casinos. I mean, it was just, and like, that's a good job for me to have with my son. I mean, it's fine. If I make enough money, there's really nothing wrong with working in a casino and at night, and being with my son during the day. But that's not exactly what Alvaro was saying he wanted to do together if we were married. He was saying that he wanted to live in Phoenix, Arizona, or some other place, and do other things. Not once did he say, I think I want to be in Las Vegas next to the casinos. It was more like that's what I was getting kind of forced into. And then they were home alone together while I was doing that. Learning these cards or whatever. And also when he left, he turned my photo upside down, a photo that he had of me. And I'd never seen him do something like that, but he turned my photo upside down. And did a couple of other weird things. And then that was it. I mean, after that, he was in Seattle, and then he called me a few times, and we still talked. And I started getting tortured. I was being tortured badly. And I was being slandered. First, Michael did something against me, and I think I'm going to talk about that tomorrow, because I need to go through that pretty quickly. But she locked me out of her house. First she said, don't go back to him. I mean, why is that her business? She's just slept with him, and she's telling me, don't go back to him. Just leave him alone. I mean, I was never chasing him to begin with. And so I thought that was really bizarre. And then the next thing that she's doing is, I found out she started inviting police officers in the town into her house so that they could go through all of my belongings. They were pilfering. She had police officers that she knew personally, like 3 of them, going through my personal belongings. And first, before that even happened, she locked me out of the house. I got home one day. There was no notice or anything from her whatsoever. And she said, basically, she let me stay there for a little bit. She let me paint. I did some oil painting while I was in the house. She didn't have a problem with it. She saw me oil painting. She never made a big deal. Didn't say that there was a problem at all. And then she flipped out about something. She never told me what it was. I don't know what it was that made her decide to lock the door on me. She later claimed in a report to the court that I had used various things of hers, but I never used anything that she had not seen me using or that she didn't know I was using. I mean, it was like communal house things. And I had newspaper around, like, the painting so that I wasn't going to damage the floor or anything like that. Basically, I kind of felt like I was being mocked.